Mic check. Happy Easter's, and a happy, of course, happy holidays to everyone. I'm all around the world, YGG fam. It's good to be back. And yeah, we definitely had one hell of a week going hard at it with our featured game. We got Splinterlands. And tonight we've got the one and only John Monahan from Splinterlands who will be joining us for our community wrap up AMA to talk about, what happened throughout the week and what we are most excited about in this game. John, how you doing, man? Glad to have you here.
Doing good. Thanks for having me, brother. Happy to be here.
Awesome stuff. And we also have a Fallen here as well, which who was representing the YGG core team and also the core leads in Splinterlands himself. So for a lot of you guys at home, I definitely think that you already know that Splinterlands is one of the OG games in YGG. Like, we've been here since the very early days, since the beginning, even with Axie's, with Axie and League of Kingdoms as well. So these are actually the top three games. It wasn't just Axie. So while we had our cute little monsters battling in Lunacia, we also have our hard-hitting warriors in Splinterlands and our conquerors in League of Kingdoms as well. But then John and Fallen definitely knows this. One of the strongest communities that we have in YGG is Splinterlands. And how have you guys been doing, Fallen?
Yeah, we've been doing great. We had our community leads on early this week, chatting about Splinterlands, and then we moved our traffic into that town hall on Monday there, as John knows, and that town hall was pretty packed with information, as Splinterlands always is. They continue to innovate, and there's a lot of news surrounding quite a few different things in Splinterlands. So I'll hand it off to John here to kind of just chat, and maybe we'll get some alpha or maybe even some leaks directly here.
Nice. Heck yeah.
All right. So you want me just to dive right in?
Yeah, go for it. We know you only have 15 minutes or so the floor is all yours, John.
I should be able to swing it for about 20 more. So it should be good. All right. So,
Nice.
For those, I'm sure a lot of people out there that are listening have some familiarity with Splinterlands, but just very briefly, for those that don't, Splinterlands is coming up on its 5-year anniversary next month. Launching in May of 2018 on chain, the collectible card game, very heavy strategy orientation. So if you like strategy games, Splinterlands is going to be one for you. But I think the thing that really blows me away is just how much Splinterlands has been able to do over these, almost 5 years now. We've had over 3.5 billion games played in Splinterlands over that time period. We've had over 2 billion transactions on chain. We're running millions of transactions on chain every day. But more important than anything else, there's always been this focus on producing real entertainment value. So a lot of the people that are here in this community are here because they're having a good time. And that's what makes it sticky. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people, once they really get into this game, they simply don't leave. And then you sprinkle on top of that some really good economic design. And we have enough sustainability to really make it through these bear markets with, I don't want to say with ease, but without getting wrecked, which is good. But Splinterlands is at this phase now where over the course of the last year we've begun to focus on some really cool stuff. One of which is adding this concept of land. I mean, it was like a few years ago now we went and sold all these land plots, right? So Splinterlands, the setting of Splinterlands is on this continent called Pretoria, and the land was basically just a bunch of plots and tracts and regions on Pretoria. But as you might imagine, I mean, it is a massive project to actually release land. And we are finally at the place where, over the last few months, we've made some significant releases to really get land going. So we just did land 1.0. A little while back, you could start to, redeem your claims for deeds. And now you can actually put your deeds in and survey your land and figure out, do I have occupied land? Do I have magical land? Is it jungle? Is it bog? Is it hills? Is it desert? Is it tundra? so it has, each land plot has all these different properties to it. And for each tract, which a tract is 100 plots and a region is 10 tracts, but for each tract, you're guaranteed to have one castle or keep on it, which is basically the building that's going to rule over that tract and collect taxes from all the plots that are producing things on that tract. So cool stuff. Land is going to be basically an entire second game wrapped around the game that we know as Splinterlands right now. And it's going to be effectively a giant economic simulation where you're going to be making choices about what types of resources you want to produce, where you want to place your cards. It gives heavy utility to all the existing Splinterlands cards that you need to stake on land to go and make things happen. But it also introduces an enormous amount of dark energy crystal sinks. So dark energy crystals, or DEC, that's like the stable coin of the Splinterlands ecosystem. And it's, originally it was an inflationary token, so there's a lot of it out there. But with land releasing, we've already introduced a series of sinks, and more of them are coming, where DEC is going to become very scarce very fast. And you can also burn DEC once it rises up to above its peg of 1,000 DEC per dollar. Once it gets about 3%, 2.5%, 3% or so over peg, it starts to become really profitable to burn DEC for our governance token SPS, which is already available in the platform. So we expect that to help transfer a lot of the value from that stablecoin over to the governance token, and really boost the ecosystem. So very excited about land. We're going to start. We just released Land 1.0 earlier this week. Next up is Land 1.5. We think that'll be ready and released by late June. I'd say early July at the latest. But that's when you're going to be able to start clearing plots and producing resources. And then ultimately in 2.0 and beyond, you're going to be able to produce new NFTs. We're calling them items and spells. But the idea is that you're going to be able to produce new cards that you can sell on the market. You can play them in the game that are going to give you a variety of different advantages to add to the pretty heavy meta that we already have going on around Splinterland. So very excited about the land stuff. For those of you who have land, you're probably already in the know and very, very excited. If you don't have land, hit us up. I can point you in to the markets where land plots are available, and also where surveyed land is available as well.
Yeah, I know I joked about this a little bit with the other community leads there. I bought a land piece when you guys did your first initial sale there, and it's quite a bit of news to my ears that the surveying's out now. I actually still have to go survey my plot and see what I ended up getting. And I think the YG SPL subbed out. I can't remember if they own a tract or not. Like, I think they probably own a fair portion.
Yeah, I don't know how much they own, but my guess is it's going to be at least one tract, if not many.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what that is. But it's great news to hear that all of these, like, whenever you add a new component, that they're all gonna have this like interoperability between them, where you might have cards already, you can use them in the land, or you might get something from land and you'll be able to use that in the normal Splinterlands game itself. So that would really be great. And then I guess this kind of ties into the other big news that we're chatting about, which is this tower defense game coming out, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest things that we've been working on over the course of the last year is, how do we get more games out there? We're not a big giant Web 2 gaming studio, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't leverage all of these things that we've learned over the course of 5 years and do really well to create some additional games. So we do have like a sports themed direction that's going to be Genesis League sports, and we have a Major League Soccer Players Association deal there where we're doing a soccer game. But the one that's going to be really cool and appealing for those that are attracted to games like Splinterlands is a game called Soul Keep. And Soul Keep is a tower defense style game. It's already exists inside the Splinterlands app, so it's kind of both of those two games are in one place. But it's going to give utility to various tokens that are already in the Splinterlands ecosystem, and it's also going to distribute rewards in the form of same governance token that Splinterlands is using, SPS. And so we're really, really excited about that. We have a closed beta happening right now for people that bought 500 or more packs of Soul Keep cards. We call them Nightmare Packs. For those that bought 500 or more, they're already playing the game right now in beta. We expect the full game launch to be here very soon. Crossing my fingers and hoping it's May next month. So we're really building up some excitement and getting to the point where we can really dive into that. And then for my part, I'm working on some promotional stuff that we want to do. One of the things I'm going to do is try to get back into, there's a lot of communities in other ecosystems outside of our Hive ecosystem that I've spoken to a lot in the past, and I'm going to try to get out there and design some things that will help people if they really like tower defense style games. Step by step, here's what you can do. Okay, you're sitting on some Ethereum or you're sitting on some stable coin. Here's how you can trade that into the ecosystem over here and start playing a really, really cool tower defense game. So very excited about that. We do have a brief demo video that shows some visuals on the gameplay. So I think you guys are gonna share that out, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, you want to cue that up now, Sedano?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
All right.
Go for it, Sil. Nice. Wow.
It looks so cool. The music too just kind of
Hell yeah.
makes me just really relaxed, which is probably not a good way to defend a tower, but
No, dude, I totally get it. Like, I was just also about to say, like, you have the different moods, the different landscapes, the different themes, even the skins of, all the sprites of, all the elements in the tower defense game here. It's definitely, it's already there. It's already there. You basically have an up and working game, and I mean, let me tell you, like, we definitely this is definitely a surprise for a lot of us in the YGG community who has been playing Splinterlands, because we're definitely used to hopping on the decks and collecting all these cards. But then maybe a question here would be, John, for the community that is already in the Splinterlands metaverse, right? Like, whether if they're card holders, whether if they're governance token holders, or dark energy crystal farmers or whatnot. So how does this all translate into this new game mode, or basically this new game within your metaverse?
yeah. So and no matter what the asset type you hold in the Splinterlands ecosystem, all of those things can be sold and traded, and then cards can be rented to earn more dark energy crystals. So there's all of the DeFi aspects are all kind of there. So it's really easy to kind of transfer things around. But we also accept for payment. The way all of these cards, whether it's Splinterlands or Soulkeep coming up soon, the entry point into the ecosystem for all cards is through sales that the company makes, right? The company sells card packs into the ecosystem. People buy those card packs, they open them up, and you see what you got inside. And then each of those cards are now owned by the person that bought them until they sell them, right? And that's how we end up, getting the cards into the ecosystem. So for those that are already in the ecosystem and you hold different things, if you hold any of the fungible tokens, you can spend those directly on buying card packs in the Splinterlands shop. You go in the Splinterlands shop, you'll see the different products there. One of them will be Soulkeep, and you can go in there and buy Nightmare packs. And that's possible right now. There's a lot of people that have already bought packs. I mean, hell, you could go in right now. If you buy 500 or more packs, you get straight into the closed beta.
Nice.
So that's possible to do right now.
So, I mean, so for everyone watching right now, definitely YGG team here, we definitely want to be one of the first guys to be able to play the new game. So definitely everyone at home, make sure to tune in. We definitely have a lot of updates coming in, the very next few weeks, especially that we want to be able to, be in on it, get in on the action. I mean, in general, John, let's say, for example, what I think is going to happen here is that your very first players in this new game would be definitely like one, governance token holders, and second would be also dark energy crystal holders, because they have had the experience of playing the game, and they basically know how to navigate around the whole ecosystem, the whole economy, even the Hive blockchain, right? But what do you think would Splinterland's move be here, or strategy, in trying to onboard players who haven't had an experience with the TCG?
Yeah, so I think there's two different angles that people are going to take, especially with Web3 games, that are going to entice them to come in. One is going to be the entertainment value. Is this fun? And two is the financial motivation, right? And Splinterlands is really strong on both. But the thing that we kind of struggle with is part of the beauty of Splinterlands is it's a complicated game and complicated ecosystem. That's a big part of what makes it fun. It's very, very strategy heavy, but it also makes it a little bit more difficult to master. And so when you come in and start to play, figuring out where the on-ramp is that you prefer to go and give the game a try, that's the big thing. But from the financial side, I think it's easy for those that just go look. If you just pay attention and you look around all of Web3 and you figure out what games and what ecosystems have still done well through the bear market, I think you'll find some nice surprises in Splinterlands ecosystem. So there's a heavy motivation there. We have some really cool, really slick ways to get people, into the ecosystem. The YGG SPL team has built a tool called Splex. It's a marketplace for all Splinterlands assets where you can buy and rent cards, and there's all sorts of slick functionality there. So that's a great gateway to come in. We have a partner called Nifty Arcade where people that own decks of cards can list a whole deck of cards all at once for rent for $0 up front to the gamer. You're just agreeing to a reward split on the back end. So there's all different ways to get in. But you got to figure out, okay, am I the one that's attracted to entertainment value, or am I the one that's attracted to the financial side, or both? And those will help to dictate, how you want to enter.
Pretty
Excellent.
exciting stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I was just going to say, kind of hand it off back again to John. I know he wanted to talk about Arcade Colony a little bit before he has to hop off there. So, again, going to give you the floor, right? We want to let you cover as much as you can before you have to hop off for the holidays.
Okay. All right, cool. So, going back to the high level overview, Splinterlands has the platform that's running just a boatload of scale, doing it with a lot of transaction speed and no gas fees, right? So this is all part of the Hive blockchain, inherent benefits, right? There's a lot of really nice things there, and of course, over the course of 5 years building this thing, you make a lot of mistakes, you break things, you fix them, you tweak this, you adjust that, you develop this, you add that. And before you know it, we have a really, really high functioning platform that does all of the scale, does the volume, does it without gas fees. And we think that that's going to be really attractive to a lot of folks out there. So we're beginning to productize the platform itself. But what's really exciting for gaming is we're going to take a copy of that platform. We're going to create a new community called Arcade Colony. And what Arcade Colony will be is, sort of a way to leverage this platform to grow your game, your studio, whatever it is. You can be a Web 2 game, you can be an existing Web 3 game, you can be a game under development, and you can come and you can list, in the Steam-like part of Arcade Colony. But then you have these options to sort of upgrade your way into things. So the next upgrade in that would be, some sort of upcharge. It's going to be, single sign-on for your game, right? Where anybody that's playing other games in this ecosystem, if they're signed in there, they're signed into your game too. Then you can upgrade from there for a little bit more. You can start to participate in the revenue-generating part of the ecosystem. You can sell packs and NFTs and product in the shop for Arcade Colony. And you can start to distribute rewards as well, right? So we're going to have an ecosystem governance token, a stable coin, and a discount token, just like we do in the Splinterlands ecosystem. And so, that third tier up is going to be where you start to really participate in all of that and find ways to generate revenue. And then the highest tier is having your own copy of the platform, still tying into Arcade Colony, but also having your own governance system with your own validator nodes and all those sorts of things. So what does this mean for gamers? What this means for gamers is if we are successful, we're going to attract a bunch of games to come and join this ecosystem, because one of the beauties of Web3 is you can exist in multiple places. You can be a game over on the Polygon chain. You can be a game over on Avalanche, and you can still come over and be a part of this Arcade Colony. You can also be a Web2 game. But what we're going to be able to do is take all of these things that we've learned about economics and how we have sources and sinks and have all of this value system and open the door for a whole community of games and an even larger community of gamers to come in and participate. So we're very, very excited about that. We expect that to be ready at some point this year. We're busting our butts to go make that happen and get that out there. So that's a little bit of a sneak preview.
Nice.
But expect to hear some noise from us and all that.
Wow. Okay. So, to be honest, before we even got started with the AMA, so one of the questions that I'm supposed to be asking you, John, is that, with the evolving sentiment towards game economies in the Web3 gaming space, Splinterlands, you guys mentioned basically your strategy on what you guys are going to be building with the transition of Web 2 to Web 3. like this project, the arcade, sits right smack in the middle. And you guys aren't only building and extending and growing like your own metaverse, your own network, but you also are going to be helping up and coming projects get into the Web3 space without worrying about tokenomics, worrying about players, worrying about how to provide Web3 value to Web2 people or studios who never have dealt with Web. 100%. I love what you guys are doing, John. I mean, this is pretty amazing. So how do we get in touch with the team over at Splinterlands if we have, projects maybe that we've been working on or friends who are working on, like maybe the next big thing in Web3 gaming? How do we get to you first?
Yeah, so a couple ways. Of course, come join the Splinterlands Discord server. That's a great way to see what's going on with the community. It's very active. There's a hell of a lot going on over there. But regarding any sort of collaborations, anything that we want to do that's special, AMAs, anything like that, just hit me up. I'm on Telegram. I'm on Discord. I should be pretty easy to find and track down. But yeah, Discord's a great way to go, and probably not a bad idea to follow Splinterlands on Twitter as well. You'll see any sort of breaking news tends to go out from that account. So that's just at Splinterlands.
Awesome.
So feel free to click on over there and give them a follow too.
Yeah. So everyone at home, you definitely see the links flashing on your screens, and make sure to drop them a follow. And while you're at it, subscribe to the YGG channels across the board. So John, definitely the Splinterlands team is going to be expanding. You guys are continuously growing. So are you guys onboarding new talent onto your team? And how can we find those openings?
Yeah, so not doing a ton of hiring at the moment, but the market is starting to look like we might be, back in expansion mode. So stay tuned there. We should have, there should be a link somewhere on the site where you can look to see.
Yeah, you could always plug it in our Telegram, and we can broadcast it back out to the community when you got some time.
Yeah.
It's hard to find links when you're on stream, right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. We got 2 community questions here, at least in Discord. Sedano, before we lose John here. So do you want to? Yeah, cool. Mandags has some questions about the tower defense. So he's wondering, is there going to be any like seasonal maps or skins possibly for that game? Have you thought that far?
I don't know about the skins. My guess would be yes. The seasonal maps, I mean, from what I understand, we're going to have like 60 maps in the game. I think in the closed beta, there's some portion of those that are available, maybe 10 or something like that. There's going to be some maps.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised to see some seasonal stuff there. Cool.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Another question again on the tower defense. It seems like a lot of people are really excited about that. Do we have competitive matches for tower defense? Is like there going to be a ranking system or some sort of like end game for that after I guess you've cleared out the campaign?
Yep, there will be. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say quite yet.
Yeah, no worries.
I do have another. Here, check this out. Here's a link that I definitely recommend sharing for those that are really want to see the details. We got a post up on Peak D. So I just shared that link with you guys. If you guys can kind of get that out to the community, those that want to get into some of the gory details, that's a great article to read right there.
Cool. We'll be sure to share that with the community there. Yeah. So thanks again, John. Any closing thoughts or anything else before you hop off? I know we're a little bit over time for what you said you gave to us, so don't want to keep you any longer than you have to.
Yeah. So closing thought would just be, look, this is an amazing space. This whole Web3 space. Over a third of the world's populations play games. I think this next cycle on the crypto side of it is going to be driven by GameFi. So those of us that are producing some real entertainment value and get the economies right are going to be the ones that really do well and attract a lot of players. But this is going to be a really, really fun ride, and I can't wait to jump on it with all y'all.
100%, 100%. John, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know it's the holidays for the rest of the world, but again, thank you to the YGG community. Don't forget, if you guys have missed this AMA, send it to your friends. Make sure that they get in on the one-on-one with the team over at Splinterlands. So, John, thank you so much. We'll be seeing you next time. So, Fallen, maybe you could stay on for a few more minutes. And yeah, we definitely would want to maybe give out some packs to the community for those of you guys staying. So let's do it. John, I'll see you soon, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. Have a
Happy
good
holidays. Bye.
Happy holidays.
Awesome.
Yeah, you've got me for another 15 minutes, Sedano. I'm here till 12.
Oh yeah, for sure. So while we were in the AMA, so John was actually generous enough to offer some packs for the community. And the way we do it right after our AMAs is we're going to be dropping some questions for everyone. So if you guys aren't on the YGG Discord just yet, make sure to come on over, and we are going to be doing our quick Q&A, quick quiz right in the AMA discussion in the AMA voice channel. So that's discord.gg/YGG. And while our quiz master still is preparing the questions for our quiz, Fallen, what do you think? What do you think is going to be happening next? I mean, John definitely brought up a lot of good points that maybe the market is picking up. And games definitely will be focusing on GameFi, or the games that will be setting out will be focusing on GameFi. I mean, do you share the same sentiments?
Yeah, I'm not so sure if again, we've had a few what you can call bear market rallies within again, crypto tends to not financial advice here, obviously, but crypto tends to follow like ebbs and flows very closely towards the Bitcoin halvings and stuff. So we have a few years bull run and then a few years off. I'm not quite convinced yet that we're into the next bull run here. But that being said, most of the building gets done during these periods, right? And as you can see with Splinterlands, Axie, or any other games here, there's a lot of building happening, right? And I think a good example of that is this tower defense game. So for anybody that's still sticking around and has the time, this is usually the best time to position yourself for that next bull run, right? When nobody's really looking. Take interest in these games that are still continuing to build very strongly and haven't stopped building just because it's a bear market. And keep your eyes out, because usually these games that have the staying power and that have the grit to stick it out during the market when not as many eyes are on them are the games that are going to be around for the long term. And like John said, they've been around for 5 years, Splinterlands. That's a pretty good track record, right? To be able to survive this long in an emerging space. So when the next bull market comes around, they're in a great position to really, accelerate their growth quite quickly.
I mean, I totally agree with you, man. So Splinterlands has definitely been around for a while, and we really haven't seen the same hyper cycles that we've seen in a lot of games happen to Splinterlands, right? But definitely, even these different game economies, they do flow with overall crypto and Web3 and blockchain market. So you mentioned that now is a good time to actually get in to the project that you want. I totally agree. And one thing is, for me, is you definitely see the project stick out like a sore thumb during crypto winter, right? You see all the guys basically having updates almost every day, new features coming out left and right. And I mean, what that does, I think, for the community is, it keeps everyone excited. It keeps the community stimulated, and we are always looking out for updates on what's going to be released next. And we definitely are going to be seeing a lot from that from all the other games that we have over at YGG. And talking about Game of the Week, our Game of the Week feature, like this is what we really want to do for all the YGG partner games, right? Like you want to get into the nitty gritty of what's happening on the side of things over at the dev side. What can we expect? What can we play next? Throughout the week, we did a launch on Monday. We had our community AMA on Tuesday. We had a couple of streams. We had a feature. We even relaunched the Game Hunters, and also our newest all-female stream led by Mei Zing. So a lot of exciting stuff happened, Fallen. So I mean, what do you think is, what's the vibe on the community side of things for YGG SPL?
Well, it's definitely YGG SPL itself. When it comes to community, they have their own, again, Discord and group there that's pretty crazy, like top tier when it comes for Splinterlands, right? We split off to some of these games, Subdows or other communities here, and Splinterlands was, I believe, the first one, or it was LOK, one of the two. They were pretty close together there. But that being said, they're always welcome to add new people or help people figure out that ecosystem, right? So it's great that we have these communities that are already set up, that are waiting for new people to kind of guide them in. Because again, Splinterlands can be a pretty daunting game to get into. There's a lot of strategy, a lot of variation. And even though there's guides for it, it's very hard for a new person to kind of, well, what guide should I touch on, right? When there's so many of them, which one's the best guide to start with? Where do I go when I hit a certain wall? And we have a community already set up to take care of it and walk people through that.
Yep. I mean, we've also basically been doing this with most of the games that we've been working on. So we have a really flourishing community over at Axie Infinity, LOK, Splinterlands, and as more of these games start to get launched, you can only expect us to be building more and more communities around those different games, right? And something really cool to see here, Fallen, is people are excited. I mean, we've definitely been through a lot in the last market cycle, but you see who sticks around, and these guys are those who really are committed to growing these communities, and there's definitely a lot of stuff to watch out for in the near future.
Yeah, and with the introduction, like, again, we've been running, this is our third season of GAP, right? And we're going to continue to do that. We're starting to really, we can clearly see who's participating in the community, right? Whether it's playing these games or doing community, efforts with these achievements, right? And they're on chain, and we'll know forever who's been around the block, right?
Yep.
Not to say that new people can't join in and have fun, but there is definitely staying power to being, like an OG. Shout outs to Big Boss and Boring Forever there. They have a lot of freaking achievements, and that shows that, like, hey, they're heavily involved not only with various games, but with the community side as well. And you can bet that YGG here is taking note of these people, right? We're the Guild of Guilds, and we're going to continue to elevate our players the best we can by adding twists on these traditional achievements or whatever you could see within many different games, right? So we're going to continue to build the D-app. We're going to continue to expand, the GAP quests along various games. There's a lot of different games. I know I was in GDC here, San Francisco, a week or two, and there is a lot of new games that are very, very polished. And the sentiment around Web3 itself has changed quite a bit, which was interesting because we are in a bear market. You would think, these people that were against Web3 would be even more against Web3 now that we're in a bear market, but it's totally shifted. A lot of them are thinking like, okay, we can see the value now around it. Let's just see if we can work that into our AAA games. Like, you're rocking a Hooli. Me and Jeff there, and a bunch of and Colin and Owl were actually all showing off our Hoolies to each other because they were chatting with the team there, and that's another game I'm really excited about coming up. But yeah, Splinterlands is definitely one of these long-standing games that if people don't know or haven't tried it, or even if they've tried it, might want to go back because there is a lot of updates and polish to the game itself.
Yeah, 100%, man. And like Fallen, like if we're gonna be like zooming out a bit on guilds in general. And you would definitely would want to see here like what actually makes this new community thrive even further. Like what really makes a guild? Like maybe like is it the number of games that they have? Is it the number of community members they have? Is it what programs are they doing? So what really drives value into the evolving guild model? So, I mean, on our end, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to hone as much talent as we can from the committed community members and to try to put them into positions where they can even further grow in the Web3 space. And the way we're doing that is through these soul-bound NFTs that we issue through Gap, right? So if you've achieved some quests, if you're a game tester, or if you're a community content creator, or if you're a graphic designer, if you're an emoji creator, maybe you can touch up on that, Colin, in a bit, right? Like there is definitely a lot of spots for you, and if you have all of these very talented people, grouped together, ready to take on any game, then I think that's what a really strong guild is. If you're good to
Yeah.
go, you have the right people in place, ready to hit the head, you're ready to hit the ground running, and yep, who knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. You can. Some people have described us very much as like a family in a sense, as odd as that is to say, like a Web3 family.
Yep.
But on top of that, right? It's just we want to be focused what community first, right? Like that is our main focus here is to give people opportunities and reward them for any activity they do that provides value back to the community, right? So whether that's playing games, leading a community, or just helping people, right? It can be artwork and stuff like that too. And that being said, we do have an emoji contest, so that's going to be closing within the next 2 days or so. So if you guys have any emojis for Splinterlands, be sure to hit up the forum and get those in, because who knows, maybe there is a gap reward for that where you'll be able to get a gap reward for creating an emoji. And not to mention your emoji will be used in Discord, so what better feeling than to get a gap and then to have your emoji rep forever within the Discord here.
Nice, nice, nice. So, guys at home, definitely we are just getting started with our game spotlight that's happening every other week. We're going to be having activities at the start of the first week and throughout the second week. We're going to be dropping you all of the updates that happened in the previous community events, right? And at the same time, simultaneously, you also have our quest spotlight happening that talking about the different games or the different quests that we have in Gap Season 3. And we are about to wrap up the Guild Advancement Program pretty soon, right? Like we have a few more weeks, so everyone at home, if you still have to finish yet your quests, you still have a lot of time, and don't forget to tell your friends about what's happening over here. So, Fallen, I mean, it's been a great time to be hanging out and chatting with you again, man. And definitely the Splinterlands community, thank you so much for supporting everyone who dropped by here tonight. We are going to be giving out Nightmare Packs right after this stream for you guys over here at the YGG Discord. So, Fallen, any last thoughts that you want to share with the guys, with the YGG fam before we go?
Yeah, just it's always a pleasure hanging out with you, Sedano, here. And we're going to be doing quite a bit more. I just want to touch on the fact that like these game highlights, we're going to be doing a bunch more of them for various games. It's something that we've wanted to do and build on. And you can expect to see these game highlight weeks quite a bit more in the future. I'm not going to leak what our next game is, but it's another pretty large player-based game, and we'll be doing the same thing, right? A whole week of content streams, community talks, dev talks, all within the next. Well, I'm not going to say next week or so, but within the next few months, right? You'll see a bunch of these games, and just like you touched on, the Gap season will be wrapping up at the end of this month, so you have one more month to finish up and get anything in. So grind hard, because once the season ends, and you'll have to wait till the next season starts to get your Gap achievements again. But yeah, thanks, Adonal. Been a pleasure.
All right, thanks, Fallen. See you guys soon. Cheers.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
guys.